Now the other day I saw online an ad for a petrol Citroen C5 X7. Why is that noteworthy? Because in this country, this generation of C5, the post-2008 one, was never available as a petrol. Why, you may ask? Very simply because in July 2007, road tax suddenly went up enormously. It went up a lot for diesel, but even more so for petrol. So much so that Citroen never even bothered to homologate the petrol version of this car. Why would you? We weren't going to sell anything because by this time, by 2008, when this car came out, petrol was incredibly expensive when compared to diesel, just the fuel itself, and then taxing the damn thing was also really expensive as well. So you may ask, how come I found one online, a petrol version? Very simply because it's been imported, used from some other country. It's also got an LPG kit installed, which is brilliant. I like LPG a lot because I had LPG cars for 15 years, something like that. My first 3 cars were all LPG, and they were brilliant because you got the performance of a petrol but with the running costs of a diesel. So I was really tempted to buy this Citroen C5, even though it was a really bad deal. Why was it a bad deal? Well, the various things. First off, it was imported, and you do get some cars here that are clocked. My old mechanic had an Audi, an A3 I think, and it was supposedly only something like 120,000 kilometers old, so to speak, air quotes, when in fact it probably had about 500,000 kilometers, and I think the engine cracked in half or something like that. So yeah, bad times for whoever was hoodwinked. But yeah, I just didn't want to run the risk of getting a car that had iffy history, let's say. I don't know where it's been, basically. Anyway, doesn't matter. But the real deal breakers were 2 of them. First off, it was 12,000 euros, which is a lot of money for an 11-year-old car that's probably going to pay high road tax. And most of all, my mechanic agreed with me, it was the engine, 1.6 THP. For those of you not familiar, it's a BMW engine, and it's absolutely woeful. It's a pile of poo. Sealants fail, all sorts of havoc goes wrong with these engines, so it's one of those things you should avoid. I do know for a fact that when the C5 was launched, this generation, the 1.8 litre petrol was carried over from the previous generation, and there was a 2 litre version as well. I don't remember how many horsepower it had, and they were both replaced by this 1.6 THP. Now, I do apologise if you've got one and you find it's a very reliable engine, but Vox Populi says the opposite. Now you've listened to all of that, you might be surprised to hear that I was actually thinking of going ahead and getting the car. Just thought, that allure of petrol. Why is that? Very simply because diesel sucks. And I don't know if you agree with me or not, but you have to admit that diesel is a smelly, oily substance that you don't want to get on your clothes. Cars with diesel engines are much rougher, harsher, noisier. They vibrate whenever you turn them on or off. And the performance, the delivery is a bit shunty. Like that. As the turbo kicks in and whatnot. Now, let's be honest, it's a lot better than it used to be. My dad had diesels back in the 80s when it was very unfashionable and very rare and very weird and very crazy to have a diesel. He drove a Citroen CX Safari, a massive car, one of the largest estates ever made, actually, in terms of capacity. And it had a 2.5 litre, well, they had, because he had various CXs, they all had this 2.5 litre weedy 65 horsepower engine. 0 to 60 would take months. And I drive a 1.6 with 110 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time that, compared to that, is like a freaking rocket. So yeah, I can't complain, but either way, having the alternative of petrol and that smooth, refined engine that just wafts along, what a brilliant thing that would be. But alas, I'm stuck. I think we all are, unless I'm very much mistaken, the 1.6 THP is actually a marvellous engine. So that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for watching. All of this is just so I could actually put out some content. And of course, I really would like to know what you have to say. Do you like diesel? Or is it just the only way you can have a C5 as well, just like me? Or is petrol overrated? Or should we all just shut up and all convert to electric? Either way, I'll be very happy to read whatever it is you have to say. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video. I bid you farewell.